Yes, legends, how is everybody doing? Let's analyze the situation. First of all, let's go through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. Let's go. How's everybody doing? Make sure to absolutely destroy that like button, guys. If you do enjoy the content, smash it up. Smash it up, legends. I'm going to go quickly through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. How's everyone doing? We'll be analyzing the situation here for the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so let's say hello to the beautiful community. How's everybody? Not many people joining in. Not many people joining in the live stream for the moment. We got the bounce from the 7/8 Fibonacci yesterday. We got that bounce, legends. So this was a level that there was a possibility of holding. We wanted to stay aware about the situation, manage your risk accordingly. You don't want to have any positions in this range. Your stop loss is your stop loss. The lows we finally held and got a nice little pump of a few $1,000s in the last 24 hours. Let's go through comment section, say hello to the beautiful community. We're going to analyze the structure here because the Bitcoin bears had a chance to push down from here. They did have a chance, but they failed in that chance. And right now we have a lot of information. Throughout the last few days, we were considering this movement an impulsive move, this a correction. Also, this to be part of a corrective move, and this an ascending contracting diagonal, or also a correction, right? Very choppy momentum, a little bit confusing, but if this were to be that movement to the downside, well, the bears had the chance yesterday. And now we do have more information, meaning that all of this does look more corrective. If we do not drop from here, from this range for that either A, B, C or a 1, 2, 3, and we continue the range, we're very likely forming a long consolidation that is likely corrective, okay? So we're going to go through the steps here. We're going to go through the scenarios. Anybody that jumped into that cheeky long position, we were aware that this is the level that needs to hold, get that pump to claim the lower highs, $104,000 plus from the exact levels where we were trading on yesterday's stream. Have to say, we just needed to manage risk. There was the chance for the bounce, right? Take it here with a pinch of salt. You want to take it, you don't. This is a support, analyzing the structure. This is the zone that needs to hold if the bears are not going to win the battle here, right? That they did not do that in the short term. So the level held, it was the only intraday local setup, right? That we mentioned also the previous day, the 7/8 Fibonacci. We were talking about the potential of forming that WXY structure in a double zigzag just a few days ago, giving the possibility of the price to reach all the way down to the 1236 Fibonacci extension, which is the level that got the exact bounce from this movement that we were analyzing a few days ago at the 1236 Fibonacci. Also with the 7/8 Fibonacci retracement, the level that had to create the bounce if we are analyzing this as a corrective three-wave structure, in this case a double zigzag, which is hitting the target levels of the double zigzag, which is that 1236 and the 178 Fibonacci, of course, from this movement, to try and form that higher low. So what information do we have here still, right? Let's just zoom out and understand where we're at, because all of this, because of the failed breakdown yesterday, we do have more information. If this were to be a bearish scenario where we are going to break down in an impulse, well, we would start thinking of a 1-2 and another 1-2 scenario. However, this movement to the downside that we had yesterday doesn't look too impulsive, right? It looks more corrective. We had the chance for a multiple 1-2 as explained yesterday and maybe break down, but it did not break down, right? So we maintained that level to give us the chance for a long position to come up to the last lower highs of this small little range, which we did early this morning. And we did maintain our support, right? So yesterday's video was a little bit of diamond pattern. The bears have a chance here. You know, we just want to manage risk, right? Because at the end of the day, we talk about the bearish scenarios on yesterday's stream, but we are looking at a long setup, right? Throughout the beginning of the stream. You know, this is the level of support. This is the level that needs to hold. I wouldn't go too crazy with stop loss, because if you lose this range, then we haven't got much support and it can get a little bit aggressive, right? So we were talking about all of the bearish case scenarios, diamond pattern, ABC, multiple 1-2s, right? Just realizing of what could happen. But if it does not break down, we are looking for the bounce here, right? And stop loss is pretty clear, right? It's at the lows. So we that movement did come to fruition. And now the question is, what are the next, what are the different scenarios that could happen? And this is why we have the blank chart, right? Just the price action, nothing on the chart. And we're going to build up together here. What are the possible trading setups that we could be looking for here in the next coming hours, right? Basically, right? So let's say hello to the beautiful community. Make sure to destroy the like button if you enjoy the content. Anybody that got into the long position here, congratulations, jumped into a long position. Target zones, sweep up the lower highs of this range is more than enough. You can leave some open eventually. But it was overall a trading setup that we mentioned on the stream as well. Also in the Legends trading community, a little bit more in detail in the Legends trading community, where we actually, go through the different steps of taking that trading setup, right? Where you do have the entry point, you do have, exactly the scenario with the numbers, right? On how we are executing this kind of trade, a little bit more guidance, more in depth, right? For anybody that wanted to take that setup. If you're interested in joining the Legends, you do have it down below. It is the 5th link down below, okay? Anybody that wants to join the Legends trading community, where we provide, daily updates, analysis, setups, right? Education, risk management, very important. And you got the 5th link down below in the description if you want, to take your trading to the next level, right? Let's go through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. Oliver, welcome, my man. Much love to you. Oreo, Andy, Steven, BTC up or down? That's a very good question. Well, I was in a short position. I am in a short position, very defensive. I wanted to see a little bit of a push to the downside, but it's looking like it wants to move to the upside. In a short position, but it's probably going to get stopped out at break even, added to the position from a short, already took profits from a short from the last few days, from higher. And we were hitting resistance here, hitting the VWAP, hitting the daily open. If we were to roll down, I want to see a rollover that, starts getting aggressive right now. If it does not get aggressive, I do see the bullish scenario here playing out, okay? Which is, literally just getting a possible breakout to the upside. So overall, in a long position as well from the trading setup, as mentioned yesterday, this is more of an aggressive long position, leaving most of the position open, even though I've taken a bit of profits on this long position that was mentioned yesterday. But I am giving the chance for the bulls here. I'm going to leave a significant portion up of the position open, just because, as mentioned yesterday, on yesterday's live stream, we talked about the possibility, right? We had this diamond pattern and all of that. This is only for fun, right? This is, something that, you can take into consideration, but this is support. If the bulls need to hold, okay, if the bears are going to fail, because the only chance that I did see yesterday is if this is an impulse to the downside, this is your corrective structure. What you would like to see in this possible multiple 1-2 setup is a breakdown, right? So you can complete an ABC. However, with this movement to the upside, all of this was invalidated. And as this movement with so many micro waves does count better as a double zigzag, which was the original theory, right, that we mentioned yesterday, unless it's a multiple 1-2. It's not a multiple 1-2 because you got this epic pump to the upside. So this bearish case scenario is no longer valid. And as I realized that this movement to the downside was either going to be a multiple 1-2 or a double zigzag, with this movement to the upside, we have a little bit of more information that is giving us the high probability that what you're forming here is either a triangle. There's a few options, right? It might be a triangle. Yesterday, we mentioned the possibility of a triangle as well. If we were to get the bounce, that is one scenario. A triangle is possible. So coming down to this range would be quite interesting if we were to get down here to the 102,000, 102,500 area to see some proof of support. That would be relatively interesting. to look for the price to bounce without claiming this low. This would be your invalidation to actually take out the highs of Monday. Very possible scenario, right? Very, very possible scenario. Now, this is going to be a moment where you're going to get the sweats, right? Because if you do extend, right, the diamond pattern, right, just for entertainment purposes, you know, you would say this is still part of the diamond. It's going to break down, right? It's going to end up breaking down in the end. So, sorry about that. Blank chart, guys. Here we don't need any nonsense on the chart. It's just a bunch of noise. So we're going to be building up, looking at the waves, looking at the levels of confluence. Bear with me here, legends. Okay, in a short position, in a long position. The short is mainly a scalp day trade. The long is more of a day trade to swing trade, giving the chance for the bulls to maybe, okay, form a higher low, maybe actually pump to the upside. This movement to the upside looks very interesting. You know, I do like the idea of the bulls trying to get the highs of Monday. This is a very, very classic zone where most will be bearish. Most will see the rejection. You know, I do see internal rejections, all depending on what time frame you're trading. I do see that rejection, you know, locally, because the idea today was the VWAP, the daily open providing the resistance. The VWAP got a bit of choppy wicks here, and what I want to see right now is follow through, right? The main reason of today's short position is that we do have a lot of resistance, and we want to see either a movement down very aggressively, or it's possibly going to be a zigzag. We find some support and then we move to the upside. This is why I want to be a little bit defensive here. Now, when we do analyze this movement to the downside that we had today, it's very three wavy. And if this were to be bearish, looking at the 5-minute or 15-minute, you would want to see that wave 3, you know, have a little bit of follow through here, right? If you did not follow through very aggressively with this wave 3 and you bounce to overlap this pivot low, this is telling me one thing. This, you know, still looks part of a corrective structure, right? Big fat range. We can form many different scenarios, but the speculation here for a short to either move down in a double zigzag, okay, that's the idea, or potentially form a higher low in this range, right, at the 50% golden pocket, and then get the movement to the upside. Let me just go through the execution of today's trade in the Legends trading community, because this movement to the upside on the very low time frames does count better as a little bit of a kind of an impulsive move, a little bit better as a possible leading move to the upside. Looking for the short here, stop loss here on the rejection. If we get that movement down and we form a lower high, what I want to see on the next leg down is follow through. I do not want to see a double bottom. If the next lower high on the movement down does not follow through, I realize the risk of forming a corrective structure and moving to the upside. This is why I want to be defensive in this zone, right? If we do not see the bears stepping in here, I do not want to be part of a short. I see the risk of the price moving up and attempting to break to the upside. So I no longer want to be part of that short position. If the next wave here, looking at this as a scalp day trade, right? If this next wave forms a double bottom, I want to be defensive with my entry point on the rejection of the VWAP. And if we don't get that follow through, no longer interested in having a stop loss all the way up here. You know, want to be defensive, just realizing how, you know, we read the price action and how probabilities change for the bulls and the bears, right? You need to be very, very active with what's going on. So yeah, it could still happen. I just want to be defensive on this scenario. This was a relatively, you know, simple execution. There's a few reasons. You know, you have the daily open, you have the VWAP. You have a little bit of bearish CVD divergence throughout these lower highs. And it's just giving the chance for a possible double zigzag where you break down here, possibly, right, like this. Giving the chance for this scenario. Of course, when we analyze this zigzag move here, and we analyze the lows from yesterday, while we got the pump yesterday, we got a significant pump up, we got the correction, and then we formed another high right there, right? So it's a very zigzag movement, as you can see here on the chart, right? It's a three-wave structure. Let's go to the 5 minute because the 3 minute is a little bit too much, right? So let's just analyze the bounce from yesterday, which whoever got into that long position, absolutely epic, guys. Congratulations. Good job. Also got into the long, took some profits, pretty aggressive long position, pretty nice. If you got into the long, eventually want to take some profits, right? As mentioned, right? It was the setup basically, right? This was the setup. You know, if we're going to hold, here's your stop loss, here's the take profit, right? You know, you take it as you wish, right? This is something that I am doing, I am sharing. Eventually, there's no financial advice here. Just giving you the levels of support and resistance, and eventually at the end of the day, you take the decision, right? You take the decision. Even though yesterday we were talking about many bearish scenarios, right? But it doesn't matter, right? You know, it's pretty interesting when you have someone talking about a long setup and you just talking about bearish things on the chart, right? It doesn't matter. The setup is there. You're just aware of the bearishness that you don't want to be part of any long positions if you lose the low, right? Just realizing the volatile move that could happen to the downside, right? Just to be aware for the people, you know, you want to be defensive. You don't want to go too crazy if you're getting into a long. So anyway, just a little bit of that education. Guys, remember, if you are interested in trading, BTCC, great exchange. Also Weeks. Been using Weeks now for a long time. You do have exclusive bonuses. I'm not sure if, you know, I'm sure there's still a few slots left for this, but Weeks is giving $100 tether for free to trade for the first 100 users that sign up with the link down below, legends, okay? There's also 20% deposit reward up to $400. You get 25% fee reduction. On BTCC, you do have up to $10,000 in deposit bonus, guys. Check out the links down below if you want those exclusive bonuses. Weeks, the first link down below, and BTCC up to $10,000. The good thing about BTCC is that you can trade stocks. You know, you can trade all sorts of stocks there using cryptocurrency, okay? They both just require an email and a password. So take advantage of the perks down below, okay, with those exchanges. Let's go through comment section and then we'll focus on the, you know, what different movements could happen here, right? Because this is what we do here on the channel. We go through the lower time frame. We can zoom out on the higher time frame, but nothing has changed on the higher time frame, right? We like to go zoom in on the lower time frame, look for internal opportunities just like we do every day, get some plans ready. How could the market develop in the next coming hours if the price is going to hit certain levels of resistance or support that we are interested in executing a trade with good risk management, right? That's just what we do. So, and we like to go to the lower time frame because we want to keep it special. We want to keep it special. Not many people zoom in on the 5 minute, 15 minute and look for these different opportunities locally for an intraday setup, right? This is what we like to do. We want to try and be the difference, the cherry on top from the rest of the people, okay, out there on the crypto tube. So let's go through higher time frame. Don't worry, there's time. I got someone in the comment section. Does BTC go up or down? We'll get to the meat and potatoes right away, guys. There's no rush. There's opportunities every day. Every day. You just need to be very selective and have very good risk management on the opportunities that you take, right? Yesterday, we realized the bearish scenario. We realized where we do not want to be part of a long position, okay, if the level does not hold, realizing that we do not have much support. However, This is support where we were trading on yesterday's stream. And this could actually get a pretty nice bounce of a few $1,000s to the upside. So there is time and there's multiple scenarios, and we will get to that in the next coming minutes. But first of all, just for any new subscribers, a little bit of higher time frame. There's not much to discuss. Nothing has changed. We're still at the resistance, which is the value area high. You might see, everybody talk about this right now. Value area high. This is resistance. We have hit the 0.88 Fibonacci, which we do know based on the past price action that the 0.88 Fibonacci, does provide that reaction, okay, that resistance, regardless if it's going to be a large pullback or a small pullback. It's just a level of resistance, right? We've seen it in the past throughout this range. We got consistent 0.88 Fibonacci, rejections, right? 0.88, 0.88 from the high to the low, from the high to the low, 0.88 getting that resistance. And that is basically where we got the resistance here on Monday, where we hit that level and we got the rejection of a few $1,000s for all of those aggressive traders that like to get into swing failure patterns, right? Failed breakouts from certain Fibonacci point of controls, lower highs. You have the option, right? You have the option. You need the rejection so you can execute that trade and put your stop loss above the wick. So that was a little bit of, it is aggressive. You're catching a pump, but you need to get into the rejection, right? We understand that. We explained that many, many times, right? It can be very safe, and you can have the best risk management ever getting into swing failure patterns, right? Regardless if it's a naked point of control, failed breakout, or a 0.88 Fibonacci, or a value area high, or a lower high, right, from, any time frame. You can get in very, very safely, and it's going to give you the best risk management, right? A lot of people say, don't catch a falling knife or don't catch a major pump and go against it. You can do that. A lot of my trades, the best executions are swing failure patterns, and the best risk management are, can be swing failure patterns because the stop loss is minor. So let's go through the higher time frames. We hit the value area high. We hit the 0.88 Fibonacci. We have 5 waves to the upside. The question is, can we manage to create another high? Can the price create another high with a successful breakout or a kind of a double top from Monday's highs, right? It gets above 105,800 to hit 106 or 107,000. And then it gets the pullback and it gets the larger correction that we all kind of expecting, right? I'm not sure I'm going to say it for myself. I'm not sure if we are saying everybody agrees with a pullback, right? We should be going down to 98, 97, right? This is overextended. We're hitting resistance. We have 5 waves. Everything's aligning. The planets are aligning for a pullback. So the question is right now, will it claim the highs again? And that's what we are going to discuss on this stream, because we have new information based on if the bears don't break down here, then we pump up. We could be forming a triangle, a sideways WXY. There's many scenarios that I want to discuss based on the support that we got yesterday and the bearish scenario not playing out. The bears have a chance here for the price to really correct down to $98,000, $97,000. But if they don't, then it changes the picture completely, right? So that's the picture that we want to build up today to see where are the highest probability trading setups lying on the lower time frame, right? We're happy with some movements of $1,000, $2,000 moves. We ain't looking for a $10,000 move. We're looking for intraday setups here. So we are going to dive in through the lower time frame. We understand the resistance that we are right now. We understand that a pullback would make sense. However, the lower time frame, we got new information. We were giving the bears a chance yesterday, right? Very, very confusing, not clear movements here. They all of them count except for this one that does count more corrective, especially now with this bounce. But yesterday we were like, this could be impulsive or corrective. This could be impulsive or corrective. Well, a contracting move to the upside. This is what we were discussing throughout the last few days. So with this new information, guys, if the bears don't have a chance here to break down, and we do get that bounce based on a double zigzag that we mentioned throughout the stream yesterday, holding the 7/8, holding the 1236 Fibonacci 1236 extension, right, from that move, and finally getting that bounce to $104,000 plus, right, early this morning. So we got new information, and this information is giving us several movements that we can take into consideration, and we're going to build those movements right away. Okay, we're going to build up those scenarios to see where is the next trading opportunity lying, right? Where would there be a good trading opportunity in the next coming hours, maybe tomorrow morning? Well, we're going to build up the levels, how the price action needs to move, and we'll get straight to the point, right? So we need that kind of price action that we want, realizing on how we can move to get into the setup. Lots of people are going to be here like, give me a trade setup now. You know, where is it, long or short from here? As explained in the Legends trading community, there was a valid short position at this range, right? And just keeping it relatively simple for the viewer, it's the VWAP. It's today's open. And you can give a chance here for a larger corrective move to happen. But you want to be a little bit defensive, just realizing that we moved in a three-wave structure yesterday to the upside. We got this zigzag today. We are overlapping this pivot low, which means that the ultimate bearish case scenario would only make sense for another zigzag to the downside potentially. And overall, I would be very interested in looking for long positions down here if we do get down there. And I'll explain, of course, you know, step by step. I understand the risk of the price moving up yesterday in a zigzag. We formed this zigzag to the downside. I realized that it's unlikely to move in an impulsive move to the downside. Okay, based on what I explained here, you're overlapping, right? This cannot be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's, you're overlapping the pivot one, but you can form a double zigzag to the downside, right? But I would be very interested in analyzing this scenario, and I will explain how the price needs to move and what are the levels of support and how we need to react to this zone, right? So it's just another trade setup, which can find support here and get the reversal in the next coming days. We're talking about the 102,500 range, right? Want to be a little bit patient. I'm going to explain how the price needs to develop so you can be confident that this is actually holding and you have a chance for the price to get that reversal and claim the highs of Monday. The main reason why I'm quite defensive from that short position from here is because as we moved up yesterday in a zigzag and we got a zigzag move down today, we could be forming another zigzag, okay, to the upside, right? Well, basically, looking at something like this. Like you might find a 5-wave move, 3-wave move, 5-wave move here to the upside. And what you're forming here is a WXY, right? I realize that that is possible. So I just want to be a little bit defensive. If we do not reject from here, I don't want to be part of a short. If we break above the daily open, if we break above the VWAP, I realize that we could, come and claim the highs. There's not much resistance above here. So I don't want to be part of a short position if we get above the VWAP, the daily open. Just realizing that we could actually push up in a double zigzag. Just realizing it could happen, right? When I do zoom in on the lower time frame, I gave a little bit of guidance here. So far, so good. It is trying to push here to the downside. When you move up to a level and you reject, when you form a lower high, you want to see follow through. When you do not break the lows here, you want to be defensive from your short position. because if you do not get follow through, the price could form a zigzag and move to the upside. Right? It's just, you know, just a little bit of guidance here on how to execute this move. Let's go through, let's zoom out ever so slightly and let's start talking about the different possibilities of the moves, okay? Let's start talking about the different possibilities of the movements that could happen and where does the next trading opportunities lie, right? Despite being in a long or in a short already, right? Because we look for intraday setups. Yesterday, there was a long that was provided. Yeah, I got into a short position with a Legends trading community today. Where's the next trade, right? Because you're going to see most of the people out there in the cryptoverse. I am still long. I'm, you know, not shorting yet. I'm waiting for this. I'm going to get into a short later on when this happens, or I'm going to, you know, I'm still in longs. We really want to focus on intraday setups, right? That's, you know, where we can make money fast if you can plan those trades very, very well, right? Such as the long here of today, or the short position that was provided today in the Legends trading community that can come to fruition, right? It can actually break down and come down to the low $102,000 levels, right? This is very much a possibility, right? It's a realistic projected move when you realize that the price action is still ranging, right? You're still in a range. So you know, if you can catch certain levels for longs or shorts inside of the range and take profit, you know, that's where you can make some, you know, pretty nice gains, right? All of those swing trader short positions, right? All of those swing traders that are waiting for that pullback to happen at some point, and you might even claim the high, and there is a high chance to claim the high at some point, in my opinion, based on the new information that we got from the pump of yesterday. So, you know, all of the swing trader short positions are waiting for the price to actually dip down here, $6,000-$7,000, right? You name it, right? Which might not happen till next week, right? So that's what we like to do, right? We try and look for intraday setups, but very responsibly look for the different scenarios. So I'll tell you what, as we are destroying that like button, make sure to destroy the like button. We got some good information here. All right, I'm just building up the audience. 100 likes, guys. No way. I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm not going to continue here with the, you know, the different levels and scenarios. We're trying to give trading setups, you know, the highest probability movements. And we got 100 likes. Yeah, there's no way in a million years, over 500 people watching. I need that like button to get at least to 200, guys. Come on. I'm out of here. It kind of works. It kind of works because I just step out for 10 seconds and the like button, we got, you know, 40 likes on that little, you know, that little movement that I made, which is absolutely awesome. Let's go through the comment section first of all, and then we will continue through what, you know, what are we looking at here? What are we looking at? You know, what are the different scenarios considering the last 1 to 2 weeks? And enough talk, Andy. You're starting to get into, you know, I'm getting nervous right now and I'm going to leave the stream. We're going to build it up. Most, you know, a lot of the people are here to know up or down, right? Steven, much love to you. BTC up or down. I know the ones that stick around and understand the probabilities, the support, resistance, the ones that are here for the education and that they stick around, they're the ones that are going to learn and they're going to thrive throughout the next coming months, right? Give or take months, 1 to 2 years, because that's, you know, we build this for you, right? We build this for you. You realize the education and how you can read the charts yourself based on the information that you do get here. And, you know, if you were hopping off on one side and another side to try and, you know, find out what is the best scenario right now to short or long, you're here for education, really, right? We can provide the possibility of a setup, right? Just to say, this is a, you know, this is a long, this is a stop loss. It would, you know, this would be a take profit zone already at the low highs. That is all good. Okay. You can follow through with this, but the education for you to read the charts is most important. So you can do this on your own without needing anybody. That's the overall end goal, right? So anyway, Aditya, my man, yo, Andy the Great, Victor, much love to you, brother. Aditya, smash up the like, he says. We got over 200 right now. That's awesome, guys. Much love, and it's you know, I appreciate it a lot. Forex and crypto trading, welcome. Valentino, diamond top pattern, 70% probability we go down from here. 89K, if not 85K. Diamond pattern, yes, we talked about that yesterday a little bit. However, the diamond pattern is not that powerful anymore. And it was because of this movement that happened yesterday. Now, the bearish case scenario, we would have to kind of implement, right? If we did not drop down from this scenario yesterday, if we are considering this an impulse, what can we have here, right? Can it form a, you know, it's getting too long for the possibility here to all of this be a corrective move, right? That's one thing. Also, a multiple 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, and breakdown in a third wave. This movement down doesn't count too great as a big impulsive move, right? Either an expanding move or a contracting move. It did count okay yesterday for a multiple 1-2 setup, right? Multiple 1-2 setup, regardless if it's here, here, or here, and then you break down. Right, regardless, having 3 1-2s or 2 1-2s, that didn't happen. We did not get the breakdown in the third wave. We did not form a lower high, and we did move to the downside. So as we overlapped all of these lower highs, there is a situation right now. This movement counts better as a double zigzag, which was the original idea for that long position mentioned yesterday, bouncing at the 7-8 and the 1-2-3-6. Because if you start overlapping the lower highs, you need to start thinking of, okay, a multiple 1-2 setup is invalidated. You have to see this as a possible impulsive move or a contracting or expanding diagonal, right? Which is very, very complex to count, okay? Yesterday, there was only 2 scenarios for me, right? Multiple 1-2 setup, and you break down in a third wave, and then you form those 4-5s, or you form that double zigzag and you find support here at the 7-8 and the 1-2-3-6 Fibonacci extension. Not counting this as a impulsive move, not counting it as a 5-wave structure. So as we've overlapped all of these lower highs, what is the highest probability? Well, the highest probability is that we are in a larger corrective move, either forming a triangle, either forming this movement to the downside. In an A wave, we form a 3-wave structure to the upside. We can double top here, right? And get the movement down. We'll go through the Fibonacci extension, but this is a possibility as well. Sweep up the highs one more time. A triangle, which can be developing right now. Yeah, everything points out to different corrective structures just because we did not manage to fall down yesterday. So we are going to be building up here the different scenarios from scratch, okay? Which is, can you check with? Yeah, we can take a look at some altcoins. We got 𝗬𝗫𝗽𝗫 here, absolute legend. Much love to you, brother. 𝗬𝗫𝗽𝗫, if you don't know who he is, guys, make sure to go and check him out, okay? 𝗬𝗫𝗽𝗫, let's get his channel here before we continue with the Bitcoin technical analysis. And we'll be diving in, okay, through the different scenarios. Don't worry, we have time. We have multiple scenarios that could happen. We're going to have to remain patient for those scenarios to happen, right? There's time. And we're going to build it up so you can actually see the picture from scratch, right? So there's time. There's no quick trades, right? Should I long or should I short right now? There's going to be time for high probability scenarios, and that's what we like to do here. Build it up. You get the education, and you get the possible scenarios that could happen, right? 𝗕𝗶𝘆𝗽𝗫, guys, is right over here in the pinned comment. Make sure to go and check him out. Great content. So let's go here. We'll take a look at WIF later on. Okay. WIF, I'm not sure what WIF is doing. Probably getting a bit of a pullback. It's actually doing pretty good. Dog with hat. Got a nice rally the last couple of weeks. Yeah, these kind of meme coins, Pepe, Dog with Hat, Dogecoin, when you get such an aggressive drop, you can be very confident that, you know, these high cap cryptos will get recover, right? Your favorite meme coin, Dog with Hat. Eventually, wow, I mean, the round bottom formation that we were forming throughout the last couple of months, exhaustion, a little bit of a wedgie structure. You got the crash, you got the fear, you got the bear market, you got the recession fear, you got everything. And then you start flattening out here where you want to accumulate or get into swing longs or whatever, right? You know, whatever you want. But you realize on the chart that this starts becoming a good buying opportunity. When we take a look at the local price action, then eventually I wouldn't be too interested in kind of FOMOing in here. You know, it's a bad idea. I would really wait for that possible pullback. If Bitcoin does get that pullback to the mid 90K levels, right? Maybe low 90K levels, right? It's a possibility that Bitcoin does pull back in the next coming weeks. You are going to see these altcoins, most of them getting the pullback as well, right? So, of course, the pullback will be the opportunity, right? The pullback will be the opportunity, regardless if it goes higher or not. You know, it's better to analyze that pullback to say, now is your second opportunity before getting that rally, right? So, I think on these coins, you know, it's a matter of being patient. I wouldn't really FOMOing right now after this nice rally that we've had, okay? Especially considering Bitcoin on the higher time frame, regardless if we take out the highs. The risk of pulling back at some point, you know, is there, right? So let's go continue here a little bit. Just say hello. Quick hello, guys. Andy, you're awesome, King. Thank you very much. Much love to you. Life and Souls Gaming. We may chop around this zone during weekend. It may transform to a Bart Simpson to play out Monday. Yeah, also very true. Bart Simpson pattern. We love those patterns. Apparently, the Bart Simpson patterns did not play out here, right? This is the thing. When we were analyzing this range just a couple of weeks ago, we realized how, you know, going to higher levels was highly likely based on the internal structures, right? Extremely corrective, no major impulsive moves, very three-wave corrective moves. So overall, the Bart Simpson pattern here had low probability. Maybe taking out the highs later on and forming an impulsive move down, then yes, maybe it could have happened. But we never got that proper sign of weakness, and we were just ranging, and we finally got the leg to the upside. And we're having a little bit of a similar structure here in this range, right? So far, what the price action is providing us is that the movements to the downside are looking more corrective, except for this one. This is the one that we had our doubts. This is also a level that we mentioned, a short position at the 7/8 Fibonacci and the value area high. This was a few days ago, realizing that this could be the moment, right, that the price forms a lower high and follows through. But we need that follow through, right? At the 7/8 and the value area high, sweeping up those lower highs. It was an option, okay, to get into a short. Of course, we moved down a couple of $1,000. It's a nice, you know, take some profits, be defensive. You get the deal, right? People want to see big movements, right? When are we going to get the big move? Well, we're ranging for the moment. And as we've developed this range, as explained, we do have a chance actually in hitting the highs again, because yesterday the bears failed to follow through in this three-wave structure. So let's go with one scenario here, which we are going to build up from scratch. We are forming a triangle structure, right? As we are forming a triangle structure in this region, if you want to take into consideration that this is a leading move, and now you're going to form a triangle, and you're going to break down, we have a little bit of a problem if we analyze this movement as the leading move, that this triangle is going to be extremely long. Regardless, if we were to get that breakdown, I would still see this as a corrective move because a triangle cannot be a wave too. But anyway, this is like extremely long compared to your potential impulsive move to the downside. So not liking this scenario, and I would rather look at this triangle as a corrective structure from this movement to the upside, right? And you form this triangle over here. And in a triangle, what you like to see eventually is 5 waves. You're looking for that A, B, C, D, E. So if we were to get a rejection, this zone right over here becomes a potential level of support to then get the bounce to the upside and claim the highs from Monday. It's one scenario that could happen and one that we would take into consideration. But we know that this is a zone that not many people would want to get into a long position. Just like the level from yesterday, realizing the bearish case scenario, we got the diamond pattern, right? And we got, the possibility of the price breaking down in an A, B, C, right? Or worst case scenario, you start forming a 1, 2, 3, right? And then 4, 5, you just start breaking down very aggressively. And nobody wants to long here, right? You can long here. You can realize the bearish case scenario. You just need to have your stops in place, as mentioned yesterday. If we roll down to those levels, as mentioned, based on the triangle, which can be a bullish case scenario, just realizing that a multiple 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, not possible. This does look more correct. I mean, it is possible. We can't say it's not possible, but this looks more corrective. The timing, if this is a leading move, then eventually the correction, if it were to be a triangle here to then lead a move to the downside, it's, extremely long in time compared to this impulsive move down if it were to be an impulse. So you start realizing that the probabilities to push down here very aggressively is losing probabilities based on the movement that happened in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, we could give it a chance, but we could also give it a chance for the bounce, which we did. So as we got that information of the bounce throughout the last 24 hours, we realize that the bears are losing probabilities here and that there could be a high chance that we are going to take this high, purely based on the bounce that we mentioned yesterday. So if we do take a look at the triangle here, if the price were to move down to this zone, which we are talking about the golden pocket and the 7/8 Fibonacci, would you be interested in speculating in a long position based on the A, B, C, D, E, right? Because I'm not sure if yesterday some people were interested in the long position right over here. Lots of people were calling for, 98, let's go down, we're going to break down, right? If we were to roll down to the $102,000 levels, give or take 7/8 Fibonacci to the golden pocket from the low of yesterday to the high of yesterday, would you be interested in speculating? It would be nice to see a little bit of proof of support and analyze the internal waves. That's what I like to do. To then look for the potential of the movement here to take out the highs of Monday. Would you be interested in taking this long position? Were you interested in taking the long position yesterday? Were you interested, or were you fearful? The price is rolling down. It didn't look too great, right? We were saying, it's not looking great, but this has to hold if we are going to get the bounce. So will you be interested is the question. I'm asking you right now, because this is one scenario that could happen. if you roll down to the $102,000. It's one scenario that could happen. We can never be certain about the technical analysis. We can just say, yeah, it's one of the scenarios that could happen. And if you do see proof of support, either at the golden pocket or 7/8 Fibonacci, you need to realize that in a triangle structure, eventually your invalidation becomes this low, because if you break that low, this no longer becomes a triangle, right? So it's crucial to form a higher low here and get the movement up. So in a nutshell, your trading setup would be looking like this, right? And I'm going to go through the comment section. Would you be interested, or would you be fearful because of the diamond pattern to get the breakdown, or the Bart-Simpson pattern, right? Would you be fearful to take that decision if we do get a movement down for a possible higher low? Which movements to the upside to take out the highs, you know, have increased in probabilities based on the bounce that we got yesterday, because the bears lost the chance here to break down, and all of this looks incredibly corrective. So one of the corrective structures, without a doubt, would be that triangle. Now, other scenarios, let me just go quickly through the comment section. I will be in slong. I would be cautious. Yeah, definitely be cautious. Don't like the diamond, not buying it. Devil, my man, much love. Anybody that doesn't know Devil, make sure to go and check out Devil's channel, Devil Trading. He went live just a few hours ago. Absolutely epic content. Never fearful, says DRM, absolute legend. Anybody did get into a long position yesterday based on the support that we had, right? It was support. You had to give the bulls a chance to come and claim above $104,000, which we did early this morning. So never fearful. We want to be cautious. Yeah, without a doubt, we would want to be cautious. There are some other scenarios that we need to take into consideration, which we are going to talk about now in the stream. You know, is it possible to get a breakdown, right? Would it be possible to get a breakdown? And what will we be looking at if we were to get that breakdown, right? I think the breakdown, you know, does have, I mean, an aggressive breakdown starts to have a little bit of low probabilities. An aggressive breakdown, I'm talking about going down to like 97K, right? And corrective structures have higher probability. One of them is that higher low support. So we want to be seeing a little bit of a reaction. Yesterday, we were getting a reaction. We were getting, you know, if we were to move down here, a little bit of a reaction, right? Form a couple of double bottoms, just like we did yesterday. That is the moment where you are seeing proof of support, right? So you're seeing proof of support, just like we did yesterday. We're holding the 7/8. We're holding this level. A little bit of proof of support is nice to see. So it gives you a little bit of that confidence that the level is holding. And of course, would give you a little bit more reason to say, you know, I like the idea of the price bouncing from this zone. So Devil is a gem. Devil is an absolute legend. Where is music, legend? The music is on, but it's probably very low. Well, the music is on. Is possible go up from this level? Is it possible to go up from this level? Absolutely yes. Why not? Possible is anything, right? When you analyze the market, possible is anything. Right. What would be very interesting here? What would be very interesting here? If you were going to be forming, I would be very interested in the short position if we claim the highs. Okay, let's just get a few higher time frame things ready. Going up from here is very, very possible, without a doubt. Why is it possible? Well, you do have a zigzag move to the upside, and you do have a zigzag move, shallow one to the downside. You could be moving up here in a zigzag to the upside, right? Where you form a larger zigzag move like this. And what you could be forming, could you be forming a larger three-wave structure here? You could be forming a potential three-wave structure. I mean, if you do claim the highs, just because all of this doesn't look incredibly impulsive, it looks very three-wavy. I mean, I would give the chance for a double 1-2 here. Yeah, a double 1-2 here is definitely possible, okay? What I mean by a double 1-2 is that you have the pump, you have a higher low, you have another pump and a higher low right now. So this could be a double 1-2 scenario, okay? If the price were to break out from here, then eventually what you're looking at is a potential third wave, right? You get that movement to the upside. It's very explosive. We're claiming the highs on Monday. We get everybody very bullish again. And then eventually after a double 1-2, when you get that third wave breakout, it's a way on. I don't know if this is going to happen, guys, but it's a possibility on how the price could develop in the next coming hours, right? Double 1-2, where you have your third wave, then you have your fourth wave, fifth wave, and then you have another 4, 5. You know, maybe it's possible where you form a kind of an impulsive move. However, if we were to move up like this, right? If we were to move up like this throughout the next coming hours between today and tomorrow, let's give or take, you know, weekends are usually having no volatility, right? Usually weekends don't have much volatility. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Most of the times they don't. But if we were to move like this in the next 24 hours, right, you would say, oh, this is impulsive, right? We blasted off in a third wave. We're forming an impulsive move. However, when I zoom out ever so slightly and I analyze the movement down and this low over here, there is the possibility that this could be a three-wave ABC move. And there is a problem, of course, here. That just because we formed this higher low, this low, and this higher low over here, I mean, could this be a wave 1, wave 2, and this a wave 3? Absolutely. You know, it might blow our socks off and go to $107,000. But when we have a three-wave move to the upside from the low of the correction of the movement down from the high, what we need to consider is the possibility of a flat, right? Let me just draw this again with my crappy drawing. What there is a chance for here is a flat. And then you get the breakdown down to 98K, right? Or whatever. 99, 98, 97. Just because if you move right now, right, with this potential double 1-2, let's leave it that way. I'm not interested in a long here or a short. This is just looking at the overall picture, okay? And it might sound like Chinese for a lot of people, but you know, this is how the market can develop. If it were to develop like this, then a flat is definitely possible. Why is a flat possible? Because from the low of the correction that we had on Monday, we have a larger three-wave structure. You know, it can be a three-wave move. And in a B wave of a flat, you want to see a three-wave move. And of course, inside of this three-wave move, your last wave here would be developing in an impulsive move, right? Double 1-2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. It gets choppy here above the highs, gets to $107,000, sweeps the liquidity that we do have all the way up there, which we do have, right? And then probably gets the rejection, right? We sweep up that liquidity above 106, maybe reaches 107, and then gets the leg to the downside. Then we start the corrective move down very aggressively. is this going to happen? I don't know. How would I want to get into a short position here? The most aggressive one would be the swing failure pattern, but overall realizing the targets of the possible ABC flat is the 1236 to the 1382 Fibonacci extension from your A wave, right? Which is sitting in between 107,000 and 107,800, right? So this could really squeeze up to this range. And this would be a very interesting zone to analyze. Of course, the price action needs to move up in that choppiness. If this were to be from the lows of yesterday, if we are moving impulsively in a multiple 1-2, what we would want to see develop here is a third wave 4-5-4-5, right? To complete that three-wave structure inside of your larger B wave. Now, there's not going to be a quick short position, in my opinion, if you do take out the highs here. I would want to see a little bit of choppiness into the range, preferably, just because you have the possibility of a multiple 1-2 scenario here. I would be interested in looking for shorts, but I need the information, right? I need that information. The most common zone for your expanding flat target is the 1236 to the 1382. So I do not know if this is going to happen. There's many different scenarios that could happen here. But if we were to continue with higher lows here throughout today's price action, I realize how the price action can move. 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll be looking at the end of a possible impulsive move, which is not impulsive. It is part of an ABC of your ABC flat, right? It's part of your B wave of your larger flat because you have a three-wave structure. It's not going to be an easy, short, in my opinion, right? You want to be a little bit cautious, analyze the local choppiness here. But that's there's one execution. This could give you a massive risk to reward to come down and sweep up the A wave, right? And we're talking about a move of $7,000 here, right? It's a very, very trappy. Lots of people are interested in short positions in this range. You got the diamond pattern, right? You got the Bart-Simpson pattern, if you wish. You got exhaustion. You got a 5-wave move to the upside. You're hitting major resistance. People are starting to be in that disbelief stage that the price could continue from this area just because there's many things of exhaustion, hitting the highs, resistance. And there's a lot of people interested in shorting here. There's no doubt about it. There's lots of people interested in shorts and probably piling into shorts already, right? We also, right? 0.88 Fibonacci, or the lower high that we mentioned at the 7.8 Fibonacci level the other day, right? Which is sitting at very high levels, 104,800 range. Anybody that remembers, right, about that bounce, realizing that this could be the start of a bearish structure, regardless if you continue down or not. Very, very high levels to get into the short. The 0.88 with the value area high, or the 7.8 the other day here. What if the price does come up and then goes down, right? Stop out everybody, which is, we know this is a liquidity game. It's a liquidity game, right? Will the bears, bulls, or whoever, market makers, right, decide that let's stop everybody out first of all that are entering and piling into shorts here based on the diamond pattern, the Bart-Simpson pattern, the exhaustion, the overbought RSI on the 4-hourly or the daily or whatever. And let's all jump into shorts because everything's pointing out there a larger pullback is to happen, right? Which, obviously makes sense, right? There must be a lot of indicators that do provide that. But when you zoom in on the local price action, which, not many people, do and provide that, you understand that all of this, starts to look quite corrective And that's purely based on the bounce yesterday. Because a 3-wave move down, right, or 1, 2, 3, you know, it did not happen. It did not happen, and we continue in the range. And that increases the probability that all of this is starting to look like a corrective structure like this, right? Or like this. You know, and you end up taking out the high, regardless if you take out the high and move down later on or not. Well, that's something that we need to see. Of course, we would give the chance for the ABC flat. We have to give the possibility here. Just considering the low and the higher low, we could consider also a massive blast off in a third wave. It's very much a possibility. You know, it might just blast off. If it does, then just let it go. But if you move up to this region, as explained, it's a little bit complex, guys, I know, but anyway, you have a multiple 1, 2, you get a third wave, 4, 5, 4, 5, right? You're getting the choppiness. You realize that this could be an ABC inside of a larger ABC flat scenario. So we'll be watching this price action very, very carefully to see if it is worth getting into the short position. So just a scenario that you would want to be ready for, guys. I know it might be boring. People just can't take it with the different movements and scenarios when we consider Elliott wave theory, but it's just it's part of the game, right? You need to love it. If you don't love it, then you know, it's just... Anyway, let's go through the comment section. It's definitely a possibility. This is because someone said, can we pump from here? And I have to say, we can pump from here for sure. Yeah, why not? We can definitely pump from here. A multiple 1, 2 could be a scenario. You got your 1, 2, and you got your 1, 2, and then you suddenly bang in a third wave. So yeah, a little bit of a higher time frame. Okay, we don't have much resistance above us. We don't have much resistance. We got a few cheeky lower highs that we can consider as liquidity pockets, which is all the way up here, also here. We got some lower highs right there that might be just where the target zone is from that possible flat that we just mentioned. Hang on a second, just wanted to measure here a little bit of the target zone. You got those lower highs that could be, they're liquidity pockets basically from January. Yeah, it makes sense. Above that last lower high from January, these white horizontal lines, they're those lower highs once we got the rejection from all-time high, right? $109,000, right? We got the rejection from $109,000 and we formed a couple of lower highs before continuing to the upside, which are these white horizontal lines. The top one is just above the is below the 12361382. Would be a very interesting scenario, that is for sure. $107,000 level is where we have those lower highs. We got the 12361382 for that speculative B wave of a flat. So yeah, it's a zone that I would be interested in getting into a short, that is for sure. This area would be analyzing very, very carefully what the price is developing up there. So yeah, other scenarios. One of them, one is that we actually bullish. We formed a higher low. We're forming bullish market structure locally. Still is from the bounce of yesterday. What I would like to see is if we do get down to the base right over here, when we talk about the triangle possibility and we zoom in on the lower time frames, what I would like to see eventually is some kind of a three-wave move to the downside. Yesterday, throughout the last couple of days, we talked about the double zigzag here, which did get the bounce where we wanted it to get the bounce. Price is getting a little bit of a pump right now, so we know that is the risk. We're pumping ever so slightly right now. We'll get stock market open just a few minutes ago. Stock market is really not doing much. Getting a little bit of a dump actually. Bitcoin is pumping. Bitcoin's pumping. So short, out of the short position, because I wanted the price to roll over from that VWAP and the daily open. No longer interested in any shorts here, me personally. But anyway, talking about the triangle setup. As you can see, we talked about this double zigzag throughout the last few days where we got the bounce. We did move to the upside in a zigzaggy move to the upside here. Would be nice to form another double zigzag if it were to be the case. Right now the price is pumping, so we might just break out here. But yeah, if we were to form a lower high, what I would want to see is another zigzag move. We got the zigzag here, the bounce, and another zigzag to the downside. Kind of a double zigzag, very similar to this price action. If it were to be the case, which might not be, we just swept the highs of today. Still resistance, still could be a scenario. Say that this is corrective and we move down in a zigzag move and we start getting supported here. If we were to move down in a three-wave structure, the levels that I am interested in is the golden pocket, preferably the 7/8 Fibonacci. In a triangle, it's very common to hit the 7/8 Fibonacci, right? Because when you take a look at the lower high that we formed on Monday, and we take a look at the low of Monday, we rejected at the 7/8 Fibonacci from this movement down, right? 7/8 was the one that got rejected. When we take a look at this pivot low to the pivot high of Tuesday, we got a bounce at the 7/8 Fibonacci yesterday, giving you the potential of that long position. Not for you, just sort of saying that is a level that could bounce. Where did we reject today? We rejected today at the 7/8 Fibonacci from the move here to the downside. So the 7/8 Fibonacci is very, very common for a triangle structure. So it's movement down, 7/8, rejection. Movement down, 7/8, bounce. Movement up, 7/8, rejection. So if we were to move down to this area, I mean, the best level is without a doubt the 7/8. Of course, the golden pocket, it could be one of them. You might just miss the 7/8 or you might hit the 7/8, because as all of these pivots have hit the 7/8 Fibonacci from all of the lower highs, you would come to that conclusion that, yeah, the 7/8 Fibonacci is your best level for this, for the long setup, basically, right? And keeping it clear, keeping it clear here, this would be the potential last level to get the bounce. Your invalidation is the low, okay? Your invalidation is that higher low right over here. And of course, what you're targeting is the highs of Monday. So it's kind of crucial that this area does hold as support if we were to come down there. Now, what would be very interesting as we do recognize how the price develops, as mentioned also throughout the last couple of days, where we could be looking for a zigzag move, a running flat. This could be a running flat right there, and then another zigzag. You have a double zigzag. You got a zigzag down here, and you got another zigzag right over here to the downside, and running flat if you wish. So with that theory, so far we did move up in a three-wave structure from yesterday, right? You cannot make it up. It's a three-wave structure. We've moved down for the moment in a three-wave structure. We got the bounce. All of this is still looking very corrective. So now we could be in, we got the first zigzag move down. We could be forming some kind of a corrective move in this area, regardless if it's a flat or not. But what I would be interested after this movement, if we were to come down from this range, I want to see another zigzag move and see proof of support. Because when you see that proof of support here in this range, you come to that conclusion that, you know, you're just forming another corrective structure, just like this one right over here, another potential corrective structure. And as you're forming this triangle, you know, I think most would be quite bearish in this zone, right? It's just the perfect scenario to become bearish. It's going to break down. This is it. We're going down to 98K, right? I know many of you will agree that this would be a cautious zone. This would be a zone where you're going to say, this is it, boys. We are breaking down. I mean, it's very similar to yesterday as well. Yesterday, even myself, I was, you know, if we lose this zone, you know, I think the drop could be epic. That doesn't give you not the chance to long, because yeah, the yesterday scenario was the long. You know, we don't want to short down here. If it holds, we get the bounce to at least $104,000, right? So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, I would be more interested in looking for the long, regardless if it stops me out. I'm managing risk here. I ain't adding to position or none of that nonsense, because I realize the danger of breaking down, right? It's not being right or wrong. It's knowing how to manage risk and knowing where the opportunity could lie. Because yesterday, lots of people were like, oh, you know, we're going to roll down, we're going to move down. Even myself, I was saying, this is, you know, it's not looking too great. But if it needs to bounce, it's the level where we need a bounce. So, you know, this area, based on the triangle, would be the level of interest to get into the long position. Would be nice to see that proof of support. The potential of that double zigzag, as mentioned, could develop. Maybe. I mean, let's see. Let's see. We don't want to go much higher than where we're at right now. And you might think, well, why don't you short now if you're talking about this scenario, right? Why wouldn't you short here? The main reason why I wouldn't short here, we're trying to get above the point of the VWAP and the daily open. And I realized the possibility of the bullish move up. If I have a valid bullish count, which is a possible 1, 2, 1, 2, and this movement down, look at this. It's extremely corrective. It's a three-wave structure to the downside. There's nothing bearish about this movement. You know, the only bearish scenario would be a double zigzag, but I would rather see the double zigzag down and then look for the possible long position down here at the 7/8 golden pocket 7/8 Fibonacci, right? And this is kind of explaining this structure as well, right? Something similar. It's never going to be the same, but That's really what a zone of interest. And your stop loss is down here, right? Don't go too crazy with stop loss. If you lose this level, then we're no longer looking at a triangle, right? It's something else. So yeah, that's just a little trading idea that I do have here. Just another trade setup that could be a possibility. And the main reason why I don't like the short position now, I like the short position before, considering that we could have rolled down already. We could also, we could still roll down from here. You know, I'm going to give it an option. I just don't like it too much. Just realizing that this could, you know, pop out, right? It could pop out. And why could it pop out? Because the movement down from today has been very three-wavy, very corrective. You're overlapping this pivot, right? There's just, you need to give the possibility here for the 1, 2, 1, 2. And this is actually going to pop out in a third wave. You know, I think not many people would expect that. Well, you just need to realize that that is purely based on the market structure that we have here. It is definitely a chance. Would I say it's the highest probability scenario? No, but I would realize that that is definitely something that could happen. So yeah, just to give you a little bit of my thoughts. Of course, the best case here would be actually rejecting at the golden pocket. Yeah, we are trying to get above the daily open and the VWAP. Yeah, we are above the daily open ever so slightly, and we are above the VWAP. So, I'm not liking it. Yeah, I'm not liking it. I just realized the bullish case. I'm not liking it here. Get a little reaction at the highs, because it could be, like I mentioned, the zigzag. You get a corrective structure here, and you form the double zigzag down in the next 1 to 2 days. If it were to be a double zigzag, it kind of really needs to reject in this zone, because the moment you do, the moment you do get at the 7 Fibonacci, you're at the golden pocket at the moment. You know, the moment you break the golden pocket and you start hitting the 7 Fibonacci, then it reduces the probability for a double zigzag. So you would really want to consider, if it is going to be a double zigzag down, this should be really the zone where it does reject. So, you know, it is, you know, it is a possible setup if I'm honest with you. I wouldn't go too crazy with stop, but as you reject from that high, yeah, I mean, your stop would have to be around about this high approximately. But it's above the VWAP, it's above the daily open. Yeah, I'm not going to give it the highest chance. Not going to give it the highest chance, realizing the bullishness. So yeah, you got this. Double 1, 2 can be on the cards. Yeah, the fact that we are above the daily open right now. Let me just double check if we do get any bearish CVD divergence. Oh, we got massive bullish CVD divergence. This is why we're getting the pump to take those highs. So bullish CVD divergence playing out. We had some massive lower lows, which are just taking out those highs. Yeah, lots of shorts, lots of people shorting the market here. Lots of shorts entering the market, which is just fueling this pump, which is already taking the local highs. But you look at this, you got big lower lows on the CVD and higher lows on price action. This is the main reason why you're taking these highs. So you're already kind of stopping out all of those short positions. if we do reject beneath the VWAP again, that's where I would consider the sign of weakness and then come down to claim these lows. So as we are above the VWAP in the daily open, I mean, you would get the best entry without a doubt. But just because I realized the bullish case, which is the one that I explained of the 112, and we are above the VWAP, we're above the daily open. This is a very three-wave corrective structure. I need to give priority to the possible bullish case scenario here. If we were to reject in the next hour or so, then I would give the chance entry zone as we lose the VWAP and the daily open and stop loss beneath the low, just considering the zigzag corrective move and then possibly the aggressive zigzag down. But we're above all of the levels of resistance at the moment. So I would give it a chance if we get back below. If we get back below, stop above the high. If we start losing the daily open, I would give the chance here at least down to the 102,500, that higher low from yesterday. But I would say let it get rejection first of all. Yeah, I mean, this would be at least this target zone. I would target this higher low right over here. Zigzag down, zigzag up, possible double zigzag. You realize the bullish case scenario. So I need the rejection to possibly jump into that trade. So yeah, that's a little bit of the idea, right? But you would need that rejection from this daily open, in my opinion. But it's a very, very, very realistic setup. But it's not a setup to get in now. You know, you would have to get that rejection because you got the 112 setup. 1 2 1 2, and you have 1 2 3. Right, you're going to start popping out here. So yeah, only if you do see that rejection, then you would count this as as another zigzag. And what you're looking for, what I would be looking for, is another zigzag down. But for the moment, it is pushing. And as it is pushing and it's above the VWAP and it's above the daily open, you would give that priority to the bulls for the moment. But it's very much it could reject from this zone. Now, there's no doubt about it. It could actually reject from this area. Let's put the 0.7 here, Fibonacci, because the 0.7 Fibonacci will reduce the probability. We were almost about to hit it. If we get above the 0.77 Fibonacci, then it reduces the probability for a double zigzag, right? Which would be getting that aggressive move down later on. So it looks pretty interesting for the bulls for the moment, breaking out here. Let's go right away through the comment section. A little bit of more higher time frame setups. It would be acceptable if we lost the VWAP. But as we're getting above it, I would give priority for the bulls at the moment, legends. And hopefully you have enjoyed the session here, right? I'm holding the long position because I realize about the bullish case. Have taken quite a bit of profits already from that long position of yesterday. Yesterday, we talked about the possibility of this long. And I like the idea that we could be taking those highs. I've taken some profits, but we'll be happy to hold on some of the position to take profit at the highs, even though it doesn't look like we're going to hit the highs. But I'm very interested in those highs to be taken based on the bounce that we got yesterday, giving high probability for the bulls, despite, the triangle, despite the ABC flat. Everything points out that with the bounce of yesterday, taking out the highs of Monday, there's a high chance purely based on the movement that we had yesterday, legends. Okay, so let's go quickly through the comment section. Guys, if you're interested in trading on BTCC, it's a great platform. Okay, we also got Weeks. They have great perks and deals down below. BTCC, you just need an email and a password, up to $10,000 of deposit bonus, and you can trade stocks there with cryptocurrency legends. Okay, so check out the link down below to get all those perks. And Weeks has a special promo. They do have the first 100 users. You're going to get $100 US tether for free just for the sign up, which is pretty crazy, right? It's a bonus so you can use for trading. You can keep the profits that you make from that $300, right? It's just to get new users. Check out Weeks because you also got 25% fee reduction with the trades, guys, okay? As you sign up directly with a link, you'll be getting 25% fee reduction and, of course, all of those different perks. Let's go right away through comment section and see what the people are saying. We can probably jump into an altcoin or two. Got my computer running a little bit. Need to close some tabs here. I do have a surprise for today's live stream for all of the people that are around. Let me guess. Andy, the bear told you again to short. JR, my man, this guy likes to just come and throw crap here on the stream. Tell him, guys. My man, JR, guess what? It seems like that you were not here yesterday. We talked about a long position yesterday. We realize how now with this bounce, there is a high chance in taking out the highs in that long position. Screw you, right? Why are you coming here to provide hate and telling people that I said to short when you're not paying attention? Get out and stop, coming here on the stream and saying, Andy told you to short, I bet, right? And we're in a long position, right? From yesterday, we talked about it on the stream. These guys that just have no fucking idea because they're not listening and paying attention on the setups. They come up here and give the hate. So, yeah, you can get lost, my man. Anyway, Daniel Singleton, my man, much love to you. Pac-Man, let's go. Devil the man. Much love to you, Devil. So, anyhow, we're going down. It doesn't look like it. At least for now. Oh, you're getting a bit of a rejection here. We are above the daily open. I want to see a pretty solid corrective movement down here. We just about scratched the 7 Fibonacci. Yeah. Very zigzaggy move. You would want to see follow through here. Very 3-wavy move to the upside. Struggling right now for the continuation up. Anyway. Let's go right away through. Don't bother about haters. Spend as little time on them as you can. Fuha, yeah, I know. I like to call them out though because I don't mind. A lot of different people that are doing YouTube, technical analysis, trading ideas, education, right? They'll just not pay attention to the haters. But we talk about setups, we talk about probabilities, we talk about scenarios. And he's coming here on the stream saying that we, Andy told you to short. Didn't say any of that. Yesterday we were talking about the long and how likely we're going to take out the highs in the next coming days again. It's dumping hard. No, it's not. Dumping hard. Come on. Don't lie. It's not dumping hard. Let's continue through the comment section. Big boy. Don't let the haters get you. It's people like you that make this world a better place. The Dukan, thank you very much, my man. All education, all for you to learn to actually spot these opportunities on your own in the future, right? That's the end goal. Ignore them, block for good. Yeah, where is he? I don't know where he is. I just read that comment somewhere. I don't know where that comment is. But anyway, who cares, right? Who cares? I know most of you are here because you like the content. I appreciate you, Bot Motion. Much love to you. Bros are looking at 1 minute time frame thinking it's dumping hard. Yeah. Do you still hold HEX? I think I have a lost bag of HEX somewhere. I don't even know where it is, Devil. But yeah, tell me it's pumping. And it's the old HEX. I actually hold a bit of the old HEX, not in the Pulse chain, actually on the Ethereum chain. I don't know where that is. It's in some wallet. I'm not sure which one. I remember I did put, I don't know, it was a couple of thousand in. It must be somewhere. I will look for it. But I remember I bought HEX. I can't even remember when I bought it. I'm not sure if I'm down or if I'm very likely down. But I think it was last year at some point. Anyway, thank you for reminding me. I just bought HEX last year for the sake of it. I think just for, I don't know why I even bought it. To be honest, I can't remember. Andy, are you still bullish on Say? Yes, sir. Bullish on some altcoins, especially the ones that are good projects and that looks like that we're bottoming out. Bro, please, your open position. Bro, please, your open position. Bro, please, your open position. Yeah, no. What do you mean? Open position here with this rejection? It does look, it's holding. We're at the VWAP. Daily open. Losing this can potentially provide a larger pullback, okay? But we are above support at the moment. We are above the VWAP, above the daily open. Losing this zone could definitely get a possible larger rejection down to talk about the, for the scenario that we mentioned, right? That triangle structure, come down in a double zigzag. But yeah, we're at support at the moment. Right, let me just quickly go. I am eagerly waiting for a pullback to accumulate altcoins, but I'm slowly realizing we might not get that. Yeah, very possible. I have been buying a couple of altcoins the last few days. Constellation DAG, Fowler Network. You just want to be positioned on some altcoins because altcoin season happens fast, right? When the price decides to pump very aggressively, we do get the massive explosive moves in a matter of a few weeks. This is dog with hat. Back in February, when it pumped to its highs, it took 7-8 weeks, right? It was the end of March. 7-8 weeks is what an altcoin season can take, right? Give or take. 7 weeks to 12-13 weeks, right? It might be 2-3 months. They happen fast. It's a moment to make money very, very fast. And if this has to happen based on the 4-year cycle theory, it should happen, maybe during the summer. Maybe we get the correction in the summer and maybe it happens in September, October, right? But as we've dropped down so aggressively, I mean, we're getting some coins already getting the bounce. You need to be positioned at low levels. Because a lot of people will see, oh, we're recovering now, so altcoin season is on, and you buy late. You want to, this is why some altcoins are looking pretty damn good. I think Devil talked about AR on his stream. I was checking him out, and AR looks insane. Down here is where you want to buy. That is for sure. Before you get rockets, right? Down here, could we correct down on AR? Absolutely. But this is the moment that you want to be positioned because when things go, it's going to go fast, guys. This is literally a couple of weeks. This pump on AR doing a 4x, right? And if you bought from lower, you're eventually making it a 10x. Happened in a few weeks. So when it goes, that's when mainstream is going to go viral, right? It's going to go, revolution, crypto's back. It's going to happen fast. You want to be positioned at lower levels, right? So AR does look pretty sick here at this range for accumulation. You have time. If it pulls back, you're going to get cheaper prices. Right? And we do know that alt season could happen in the next coming months. You just want to be positioned and buy low so you are de-risking on the downside risk. So many channels throughout the bull run of 2025 throughout 2024 and November telling you to buy and to buy. And people are wrecked that are following all of these different altcoin channels to accumulate, buy now, you're early. If you don't buy at the right moment, all of these people that are telling you to buy up before we rocket are making you get wrecked. Now for sure it makes sense to accumulate some altcoins when they haven't pumped too much. If you ask about dog with hat, it's pumped quite a lot in the last, few weeks. I'm not sure what percentage, but it has got a little insignificant rally. I would wait for the pullback or not get in at all. If it goes, it goes. You missed it, right? Just to stay on the safe side. Anyway, we're losing that. VWAP and the daily open. The thing is here, as you have hit the 7/8, the 7 Fibonacci, it decreases the probability for a double zigzag. So if we would have rejected from the golden pocket, I would have been more interested in this to get that leg down to claim the lows of today. Which it does look like it can do that, because this does look very three wavy. Especially with this leg down, losing VWAP and daily open. Anyway, let's go through the comment section right away. And I got a surprise for you. Legends. Yeah, not liking this too much, as we did bounce quite a lot to the upside. It still looks very corrective, this movement. The double zigzag loses probability because we hit the 7 Fibonacci. Not a bad idea to consider taking profits from the long positions. Anybody that took the long position yesterday, this is without a doubt a zone where it's good to take profit, right? Anybody that jumped into that long position at the 7/8 Fibonacci, well, the $104,000 level was already a zone to take profit. Legends, I got a surprise right now. We got someone. I've got an invitation here from someone. I'm not really too interested with this price action, to be honest. But I have someone here that is joining the live later on. He's actually in the pinned comment, guys. It is Crypto by 𝗲𝗬𝗫. My man, how are you doing? I'm going to leave a little bit of freestyle.
Of course. How is everyone doing? Am I even in the frame?
You're in the frame. We're going to zoom out a little bit. Guys, we got the legend himself. How are you?
Good, man.
Nice to see you.
I heard some comments. Andy the bear.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
It's sometimes it's funny that people get frustrated if you outline a bearish case scenario, even though over the medium term you can be bullish. And that's something that I find, I just started my YouTube channel, as you know, and so I find this very intriguing when basically people can't understand that the price can go in both directions.
Yeah.
But let's
Are we on? Is the mic on?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome.
We're all good. Let me just double check here. We've got the legend Crypto by 𝗲𝗫. Sound is great today. Yes, let's go. 𝗲𝗫𝘆𝗽 is in the comment section. We actually getting the views increasing.
Amazing. 𝗲𝗫𝘆𝗽, you should head over. Let's make it a threesome.
All right. 𝗲𝗫𝘆𝗽, what have you got for the community?
All right. So as you know, I do not dive into the shorter time frames that much, but what I talked about in my video that was uploaded actually while you were live is the potential to reclaim this higher wick over here. I think that as the price starts rounding out like this, a lot of people are going to want to go short, targeting much, much lower levels. And so while we have seen this before where we do go ahead and round out, I think that we could get one last squeeze to the upside before we get that breakdown. Yeah. Now, the breakdown doesn't necessarily have to mean, oh, we're going to go and set new lows. If we were to break down from here after a potential pump to the wick, regardless of we get that, if we were to break down, I do think this is the zone that I'm looking at. Granted, it's a pretty big zone between 93.5, maybe all the way up to just above 98K. The reason why it's so important is because this was the previous zone that we chopped around before we had that major breakdown, which brought us to 74.5K. These zones can often act as support or resistance, depending on how you're targeting them. And so I think that it is likely before Bitcoin actually puts in an all-time high for us to come back down and retest somewhere in this region as support and then pump higher. But in the meantime, as we chop around in this range and we keep on holding it as support, it leads me to believe that people that are shorting are going to get squeezed and they're going to get wrecked. We might just tag this wick. We've seen several times before this key level up here, which is 106.2K. To me, objectively speaking, that's the most important level because we've never had a daily close above that level. It's always just wicks, and potentially another wick to come here. Now, if we were to get a daily close and confirmation above that level, it's the funny saying, long your longs, because I really think that a couple of closes here above this key level, which we were never able to close above before, the sky's the limit for Bitcoin. Of course, we'll have the wick at around 109K. We'll probably get a reaction there. But ultimately, some daily confirmations above that level is what I'm looking at to really go max long. Now, this is still going to be a tricky region, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But ultimately, if as soon as we start properly losing this level and getting perhaps one or even two closes below here, I would be actually shorting into this breakdown region with my take profit around here. I'm not sure what you think of that, if that follows your analysis as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do focus on the higher time frame for sure. I mean, this zone right over here is where I said we're hitting resistance because it was the golden pocket and the point of control of this entire range. And I think a lot of people that only took that higher time frame level of resistance for a reaction, are already saying that I'm a perma bear because of this resistance. However, because on the live streams, I like to focus on local time frames, right? Like 15-minute time frame. I was actually bullish throughout this consolidation, looking at the highs to be taken every single time. And then we got this one that actually broke out. So it's really all, you can be bearish on the higher time frame, bullish on the lower. It all really depends. It's really a game of level to level where you break the resistance, then higher we go. You break the support, then lower we go, right? Kind of thing. So
100%.
It was pretty interesting because I'm not too good on the higher time frame perspective, saying we are at resistance. We're getting a reaction. Let's see what happens locally, mainly on the live streams. And lots of people don't pay attention. They just come here for, basically say, oh, he's bearish. He's talking about the resistance. That means that we, bear market from here. And we were actually locally bullish based on the corrective structures that we were forming in this range. And something similar is happening here where, I'm talking about the resistance, but this choppiness that we've been forming throughout the last, few days and confirming the last 24 hours that we did not break down is making it another type of corrective range that does give a probability in at least testing the local highs of Monday with a possible breakout or a wick to the upside. It's a kind of trap zone where lots of people become bearish, like in this zone over here. And then the price, eventually in this stage, it did break out. But here, I'm not too sure about a successful breakout. That would be extreme bullish case where we just still forming multiple waves to the upside. We're in a wave 3 and bull market, baby, sky's the limit. Or you actually, claim those highs, stop every shorter, because this is a zone where lots of people are interested in shorts. There's no doubt about
100%.
it. As it is resistance, lots of eyes here. And what I think would be the classic outcome would be wick above the level, try and have that false breakout, and then come down and sweep up the lows of the range here. So obviously we're going to have to really check how we break out if we close those daily candles, as you mentioned, above this level. Because it might be extremely bullish, right? So it just...
Well, that's the thing. We get the confirmation and, the sky's the limit. But as 𝗬𝗆𝘆𝗽's saying here in your comment section, I mean, he's bullish, lower time frame, bearish, larger time frame. And I am too, as long as we don't close above this level.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, I also got some bearish accusations recently. I got someone that commented on my video, oh, he's a perma-bear unsubbing. But it's just, it makes me laugh because it's you know, we do a lot of research for our analysis, and I refuse to become one of those influencers that will just scream at the top of my lungs that Bitcoin this cycle is just going to go to $700,000 and you should just long immediately and there can't be any retracements. It's just ridiculous. And so I would hope that that's appreciated. I know that you're also like that. 𝗬𝗍𝘆 is also like that, really level-headed analysis. And we're trying to provide all of you guys with the best possible trade setups and analysis, also in the Discord community as well. So it's tricky to navigate.
I mean, one thing is for sure, you can never go wrong always being bullish on Bitcoin.
Well, yeah. We had a discussion today at breakfast. Like, we personally both think that Bitcoin could hit $1 million, but certainly not this cycle.
Yeah, well, certainly is a word that I would be cautious. You never know, but it's unrealistic. That is for sure. Unrealistic that we do go there. But if you are always bullish on Bitcoin, you eventually will be right many times, even though you might be wrong for a few weeks or maybe a couple of months, right? So Bitcoin is bullish long term. Let's leave it that way. It's inevitable. 100%. Oh, I can see the like button going absolutely crazy.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go, like button.
Smash the like button.
𝗬𝗍𝘆 says, sell your wife and your house, buy a tent and stay in your parents' backyard. The time is now.
Well, exactly. That sounds like, you know, the time is now sounds like an excellent title for a video. And this is also an apology for the sensationalized titles and thumbnails that we do. But it's the YouTube game. You have to play the algorithm to try to get views and try to grow the channel. I mean, Andy's inches away from 100,000 subscribers. So you guys should be subscribing. We're inches away. We're going to have a huge celebration.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. But let's get into some more quick analysis. I mean, this is very obvious to me. There's a ton of liquidity right here. This is the 48-hour liquidation heat map. I think that we have a very strong chance of coming and grabbing this liquidity if we are to come back lower and then test that breakdown region. As I said, I think we could pop up and then come back down. Something else that I actually just wanted to show you quickly, which this is more bearish long or more medium term as 𝗬𝗍𝘆 put it, which I think this is very interesting, is if you scroll down here, you can essentially see the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. And if you zoom out on the 30-day time frame, we can see that if Bitcoin were to go all the way to, you know, just around $90,000, there's around $17 billion ish of cumulative long liquidation leverage, which is massive compared to the shorts here, cumulative short liquidation leverage around $6 billion if Bitcoin were to go all the way up to 115K. Now, this is starting to look a little bit more positive in my opinion, because when I was covering it on the channel, this was all the way down here. Like there weren't even that many shorts in the market. So when you start to see this level out, that is a good indicator that maybe the trend is shifting. But right now, you know,
people are building up shorts for sure. So a squeeze up would make sense before getting the and the drops. We know that the drops happen very fast, right? It's staircase up to the upside, right, and elevator down.
Exactly.
And so it would be nice to see that attempt in breaking Monday's highs above $106,000. And I would be very, very cautious. I'm actually interested in the short, but it's not going to be easy. We're here to make money. We're here to be responsible and not just randomly get into a short, add to the short. It's going to roll over at some point. You know, we need to be patient, and we really need to check how price breaks those highs and gets exhaustion, CVD. We know how to do it. We just need the perfect moment, right? We need to be patient. Basically, patience is key.
Exactly. And if you were to somehow time this perfectly, would your target be back in this zone, or would it actually be all the way back to the breakdown region?
At least down to the lows of this week, which is 100,800. So I would target that low. So it's like when we're in a range, it's very classic to hit the highs of the range or end the lows, right? Or the lows and then the highs. So that would be the first target zone if I do get into a short. And obviously, if we break that low right over there, then I would target the mid 90K levels, where we have that box, we have that kind of big order block region. But we'd have to break down from the low of today's week's range, that level. If we have a fake out down there and we hold it and we actually change to bullish market structure after the drop, then I would say time to take profits. Maybe it's time to look for longs, depending on the proof of support that we do get there.
No, makes a lot of sense. I'd be looking for the same thing, to be honest. One thing that I thought, this is by Dan Crypto, and I thought this was just an excellent way to put it, but you can see that Bitcoin is essentially ranging as it normally does. I covered this in my video today as well, but just to reiterate, we ranged from 83K to 86K. Then we had that leg higher. Then we ranged from 93K to 96K. We came back down and had that leg higher, and then 101K to 105K. The reason why this is significant is because, as I'm sure you've been saying, you don't need to go aggressive when we're just ranging like this. That's a sure way to get wrecked, in my opinion, at least. It's been doing the same thing since the April lows: ranging, consolidation, leg higher, ranging, leg higher. And so basically you want to keep your eye on the local range and wait for a breakout to either direction. That's a solid recommendation. You kind of wait till we get that pop, and then we can target the next area, which would potentially be closer to the all-time high level. And as I said, pre-positioning during the small range without proper invalidation only gets you chopped up. There's no harm in acting on the price action instead of trying to predict it in advance. And this brings me a little bit back to, if we go back to, say, 2024, this was absolutely brutal for, I know, a lot of people. This ranginess, a lot of people got chopped up. People were expecting a breakout and they would enter right here, and then we would dump and they would get liquidated. Then here you're expecting a breakdown and then we would pump, and so on and so forth, until we finally continue to flirt with this level. And then this is the thing, you can literally just long the breakout. Yes, we came back down and retested a couple times. I'm sure if I zoom into the small time frames,
the daily candle close was kind of key.
100% with your wick right at the low here, and you would have caught all of this move, and that would have been an epic trade, longer time frame trade, as I normally do. So you just need to be patient when we're ranging around like this. There's no sense in needing to rush it. Of course, on the smaller time frames, your analysis is extremely helpful for these kinds of trades, but in the long term, you kind of just want to wait. And like I said, you get the daily confirmation above 106K. I do think that we're going to be going much, much higher. The next thing here that I would just want to show you, I love this chart, USDT dominance. We've had this trend since all the way back in 2017, and we've held support at this level. Every single time that USDT dominance holds support, it does mark a local top for Bitcoin. As we saw in March of 2024, we hit $74,000, and then we bounced off this level, and right around here was when we had that 49K bottom in 2024. Then we came back down, and I was actually expecting us to hold support here again, but we came back down and held an arguably an even more important horizontal milestone, which is the 4% level, held that as support, and this marked the inauguration top, perfect top, 109K. And then right here, of course, this coincides with the 74.5K level. So right now, it looks like we're about to break this level, which could suggest that maybe Bitcoin will get the fuel it needs to really break an all-time high. There's a lot of times where we have these big wicks to the downside, as you can see. And so maybe this gets eaten up and this marks another local top for Bitcoin. We'll just have to see how it plays out. But I think that this is extremely interesting to share for sure.
And also maybe altcoin season.
We'll talk about the altcoin season, but I posted not a great video for altcoins yesterday. I know a lot of people want to talk about altcoin season. Actually, you know what? Since you brought it up, let's talk about it. So this 4-year trend of Bitcoin dominance just continuing to climb up, and a lot of your favorite influences are saying that we're just going to get this altcoin season, but you have to remember that these small downtrends in a huge uptrend could simply resort higher. And I think that because of monetary policy staying exactly the same, we're still in quantitative tightening, although they have reduced the speed of quantitative tightening. We're starting to level out on the chart. I still think that there is a chance that we target 66% dominance. I don't. I know everyone wants an altcoin season, but that doesn't mean that altcoins on their US dollar valuation can't actually go higher. It just means that when this goes up, Bitcoin gives you the better risk-adjusted returns. The thing is, if you actually, I know most people didn't do this, so maybe I shouldn't even say this, but if you did have the patience to wait all the way up in these levels to start accumulating altcoins, you're not complaining at this point, even if it ticks a little bit higher, because you waited for the bulk of the Bitcoin dominance move in tight monetary policy.
I mean, I'm saying to the viewers that I've been accumulating a few altcoins just because the sell-off has happened right throughout the top in January, February, March has been pretty brutal for altcoins, dropping down 60, even 80%, some of them getting to the bear market lows.
Below the bear market lows.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if that altcoin season will happen next month or in 3, 4, 5 months, right? But I would be expecting some kind of an altcoin season similar to the one that we had in November of 2024, right? Where
few weeks.
Yeah, at least that. I'm not sure if it's going to be explosive and it will be the altcoin season, or at least doing a 3, 4, 5x. That's what most of the coins did in November. They did a 3, 4, 5x maximum, most of them. I mean, some meme coins eventually 10, 20x, but on average, they did about 3, 4x. Everybody's excited for 2025. And then we got this brutal correction since the inauguration day, right, of Donald Trump, which was the top for Bitcoin.
Election.
I just don't know if you can't guarantee an altcoin season, but I do know that the crash has happened for altcoins. And if you want to buy cheap and take that risk for the next coming months for the potential altcoin season, that the prices are relatively good to buy now instead of buying the hype like many did in November of 2024.
100%. Like that's the thing. These are arguably, if you look at the big picture, these are good levels to be accumulating altcoins. But I'm just saying, I think that we could potentially climb higher. The other thing with altcoins, which we discussed earlier today, guys, don't wait for 1,000x to sell your altcoin. Like, we know that there's a lot of guys out there that will promote that, guys, this is going to do a 100x or 1,000x. Be a bit realistic. You enter with a decent amount of capital, and if you get your 5, 10x, even at 5x, you could start dollar cost averaging out of that altcoin. Always leave a moon bag, but you don't need to wait for these 50x's and live your life wondering if they'll ever come, and then next thing you know, you got a 4x or you got an 8x and you didn't sell anything.
I mean, I'm happy with the 5x.
I'm thrilled with the 5x, 100%.
Because 5x would be pretty awesome from my portfolio, if I'm honest. I would be very happy with the 5x, especially with Chainlink. If Chainlink does manage to get above $30, $40, I am looking at all-time high. But if it gets above $30 already, I'll be like, I need to get some of this money out.
Because you accumulated that deep in the bear market, right?
Yeah, a lot.
But that's the thing. Most people don't have the patience to wait several years to accumulate altcoins. I actually agree with this comment, 𝗬𝗍𝗍. I saw you also commenting on my videos as well, so nice to see you. But I do think an alt season is unavoidable. We will get one. It's just, what level will it be? Because this right here is what you want to see for altcoin season. Bitcoin dominance basically falling off a cliff, not just dumping a little bit, consolidating, chopping, and then going higher. This is not what we would call altcoin season.
It's going to happen for sure.
It's just the matter. It's
the timing.
When.
It's the timing that's very difficult. Because I even thought that March, April could be the moment where the dominance does collapse, because it did happen in the previous cycles, but history does not repeat, and it's not repeating looking at the altcoin season. But overall, there's still many months ahead in this year. Lots of altcoins have dropped significantly. And overall, you are seeing that exhaustion of the selling pressure, and that's the moment where we should be accumulating, because it's going to happen without a doubt, and you want to buy at the lowest prices possible, right?
Absolutely.
Before it starts pumping aggressively.
And what are the next thing? Oh, there's just a couple of news pieces. I like going on Watcher Guru because they cover the news well. So, President Trump came out and said that they're going to send letters to countries for new trade deals. Ultimately, very positive. And, it doesn't matter if Bitcoin dumps, stays stable, or pumps. We are seeing several companies going ahead and accumulating some more Bitcoin. So 𝗬𝗍's bought just under $30 million worth of Bitcoin, becoming Brazil's first Bitcoin treasury company, which I thought was extremely interesting to share. We know that Trump is actually here in the UAE. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund discloses $400 million investment in BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF. This is huge, and it's very pertinent. I'll go into the spot ETF numbers afterwards. But then we also had Russia coming out, and their central bank reported Bitcoin as the top performing investment in 2025. Now, this isn't necessarily saying that they're holding a ton of Bitcoin, although they likely are. But right here, this is what I really wanted to point out. So 400 mil, and they, of course, accumulated through BlackRock's spot ETF. So if you look at the spot ETF data, what I think is very interesting is even on the days where we see significant outflows from other Bitcoin spot ETFs, BlackRock, which is this one, IBIT, tends to be accumulating aggressively. Yesterday, $400 million. Then we also have, on April 28th, just under $1 billion of accumulation. But meanwhile, you look at these other ones
outflows.
Like ARK, for example. Yeah, like significant outflows. So all of the big institutional investors are likely going through the BlackRock Bitcoin spot ETF to accumulate, because we can see time and time again, they are the ones that are aggressively accumulating. Very rarely will you see this number, even in a big dump, for BlackRock to be red. It's either zero or in the several.
They're the smart one. Smart money is getting through BlackRock ETF.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I really wanted to cover today. I mean, I think. What alts are you accumulating? No alts quite yet.
Ooh.
No alts quite yet. But Ethereum is starting to outperform Bitcoin, and so one thing I wanted to talk about, which I don't have the chart handy, but basically, if we can hold that bull market support band, Ethereum continues to outperform Bitcoin, and monetary policy kind of changes. That's when alts really start to
take off,
to pick up. So for now, the most risk that I'm willing to take in terms of a spot position on alts is actually just ETH. And I accumulated a ton below $1,600. And right now I'm just holding. I haven't sold since.
Very cool.
So yeah.
All right, legends, you have the channel from Crypto by 𝗬𝗫 in the pinned comment, okay? So it's on the top here. As you can see from the comment section, make sure to subscribe to his channel, because he provides insane value every single day. Legends, thank you very much for joining today's live stream. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, 𝗬𝗫.
Thank you, sir.